Thank you very much. We appreciate it. Good morning. I understand that we're actually the first panel that you're going to see today, so thank you for showing up. I hope you've had some coffee and you're ready to hear some great conversation, especially between these two absolute legends that sit beside me. My name is Josh Woodhouse. I'm the Managing Director for Acast here in the UK and Ireland. Those of you that are unaware of who Acast are, we're the world's largest independent podcast company, and we provide the infrastructure that helps support the open podcasting ecosystem. What I mean by an open podcasting ecosystem is the fact that podcasting in modern day, in 2026, has far transcended an audio-only format. We're now looking at effective publishers and brands in their own right, covering audio, video, social, and even live events, and we'll talk about that, I'm sure, in just a bit. And I'm joined, they've sat perfectly underneath each other's titles. I'm joined by Wayne Davison, I promise I do know them. Wayne Davison, Chief Revenue Officer at the production powerhouse that is Little Studios. Give a round of applause for Wayne, it's nice for him to come on and support us. And the brilliant Gemma Abrahams, who is from British Airways Holidays and a product partnerships lead and brand expert in herself. So again,
Thanks.
Also, forgive me for outing you like this, but first ever panel session. So please give a very, very warm welcome and a round of applause for Gemma as well. Right, let's talk a little bit about the power of podcasting in 2026, shall we? And the power of Omnichannel, which is what we're specifically here to talk about. But before we do, Gemma, we've worked with you for a number of years now. Yeah. I'd like you to set the scene a little bit for the room as to the core KPIs for BA, which is obviously an incredibly iconic brand in 2026 and beyond.
Yeah. So I'm going to correct you.
Oh no.
Because we are British Airways Holidays. We are not just the airline. So that in itself is our challenge. When we're under that very iconic brand, that speed mark, which for Josh's information is the sort of the sideways tick, the little flick above the words on the plane. When you operate under that logo, people just think flights, and rightly so, they absolutely should. But we are, as British Airways Holidays, the dedicated tour operator for the airline, so we are flight plus hotel, flight plus car, flight plus hotel and car, and all the benefits that you get with a tour op. So that in itself is our big challenge, is consumer awareness of the Holidays brand, and consideration against quite a feisty travel sector in the UK. So yeah, that's us.
Nice, thank you very much. And we'll get on to how podcasting has helped you answer those KPIs in just a second. And Wayne, Little Dot is renowned for creating premium video first content across, of course, YouTube, but other social media platforms as well. However, I would say in the last 12 months, it's fair to say, but you could correct me if I'm wrong and say it's even longer, there's been...
I may do.
There we go. There's been a step change, hasn't there, in terms of LDS's investment in video podcast content specifically. What is it that's driven that for you guys?
Well, I'll go backwards a step first. So Little Dot, as an explanation, is kind of a bridge between traditional media, so broadcast content owners and sports rights holders and various others, into a digital space. So we set up the business about 13 years ago. We basically helped those kind of traditional media owners move into digital space. So managing content onto YouTube at the time, and now moving into TikTok and Instagram, et cetera, et cetera. So we've seen a massive shift in behaviors in terms of audiences moving to digital video and digital platforms that has kind of evolved and accelerated at extreme pace over the last few years particularly, but we were kind of at the forefront of that, whether that's with partners like Gordon Ramsay or some of the big studios, Formula One, helping them move into those spaces. So what we saw was this kind of, as I say, migration of audience into digital video, and therefore actually podcast space was kind of an interesting area we weren't occupying. We acquired a business called History Hit in 2020. Dan Snow, the broadcaster, historian, was getting bored of basically waiting for commissioners to commission shows on the BBC, and decided he was going to do some stuff for himself. Started a podcast in a travel lodge with his dad, did a recording over the phone basically, and started to launch that. That became a subscription VOD service, and is now 8 podcasts brands, 16 podcasts a week. We have 4 video podcasts also on YouTube, which interestingly we were slow to get onto YouTube, bizarrely. And the subscription service, as well as commissioning for Channel 5 that we use into our whole ecosystem. So we've seen a big step change in that talent kind of moving into a kind of owned media, owning their own brands proposition, because the broadcast isn't servicing them in the same way. And therefore, as we kind of then did, we've partnered with Acast to help evolve your talent's proposition into video and move into YouTube space as well.
That's right. So again, supporting the infrastructure that supports that open podcasting ecosystem, adding video succinctly to an already open audio podcast ecosystem.
It was not as succinct as that, but yes, you're right.
It was a lot of work, but thank you very much. We enjoyed the process along the way. So accessibility and talent entering the space, because it feels not only accessible, but they get to feel passionate about what they're working on, which transcends into how they deal with brands. So we know about the key KPI, and obviously a challenge between this heritage brand in BA and BA Holidays, or British Airways Holidays, having to sort of cut through the noise and make sure that awareness piece is there, and also all the way through to consideration, right? So we talk a lot about the fact that reach could be considered cheap in today's sort of media landscape, and talk to us a little bit about how you have used podcasts to cut through, especially the awareness piece, which I guess your stock standard media plan, you might be thinking spots and dots, spray and pray, my message everywhere. But that was not quite the case with you guys, right?
It's not. There's a role for it. There's absolutely a role for it for some people, but for us, it's we don't have the same budgets as some of our competitors. So how do we be a little bit more clever in our media buying, in our planning, and how do we sort of cut through the noise? There's paralysis of choice for consumers in terms of the content that they can consume. It's on where they want it, when they want it, and they can consume it as they wish on the go. So as a result of that, there is advertising everywhere. And this is when it's sort of, it raced to the bottom. There is cheap CPMs everywhere. We've kind of bucked that trend a little bit, and what we really went for with, and what we found with podcasts is that trusted voice and that authenticity. And yes, it's not mass reach. We're not reaching millions and millions and millions all of the time with that. But what we are doing is we're speaking to an engaged audience, the right audience. Finding that right partner to be able to do that talking for us is really valuable, because it's value over cost for us in terms of how we sort of speak about our brand and get our KSPs over.
Yeah, nice. So let's sort of contextualise that even further. So you started work with us. We've been working together for now sort of 4 or 5 years.
Yep.
Started within audio, obviously.
We did.
And then you stepped about 2 years ago into the likes of branded content, which obviously was audio first and audio only. And then we presented to you this omnichannel ecosystem, which was obviously across YouTube, but also social media, and indeed Happy Place Festival. So do you want to talk to us a little bit about sort of the journey to get there? Because I suppose when people, especially if there's any brands in the room, you might consider omnichannel and think, that's a bit scary. There's a lot of different touch points there. Is there going to be a lot of wastage, etc.? But you spoke earlier on when we were sat out there about the real considered planning process that goes into that. And that when we presented that, it was like, that's a no-brainer.
Yes, and it was. Well done, Daps.
Big up, Daps.
When we got proposed the sort of plan with, as Josh said, we'd been doing sort of dabbling with audio. We'd done some sponsored reads, I think 23?
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. And then we did a couple of branded episodes, so we sort of took that audio space a little bit forward, and that's sort of how we cut our teeth with it. And then come the big proposal for the omnichannel option. I said to Josh, I'm not lying, I said to my boss, I was like, we're doing this. This is happening, and we're going to sign it off, because it ticks so many boxes for us. It's not just about speaking to the consumer, it's about giving them something back. It's sort of a value exchange. You're sort of interrupting their listening. They're choosing to listen to this host and on this topic, that sort of give them something back. Don't just force your brand into their ears. Sort of speak to them, not at them.
Or
eyeballs, yes.
Or eyeballs.
Indeed.
Sorry,
No,
sorry,
right,
we're new to this. This was last year. So yeah, how do you sort of, you bring them along for the ride, right? And the omnichannel plan that sort of came over, particularly for Happy Place. Happy Place was the perfect media channel for us anyway. Sort of our brand strategy around Take Your Holiday Seriously was really important for us. It was resonating and it was cutting through. So how do we take that further? And Fern and Happy Place were perfect for that. So with this omnichannel sort of offering that came over from Acast, it was sort of doing more of the sponsorship, keeping that sort of ticking along, but more engaged branded travel series, which has worked incredibly well for us, getting on decent sort of high quality guests that can do the talking with Fern, so she's interviewing them, but on a topic that's relevant to them. But it was always linked back to our truth around take your holiday seriously, around committing to your holidays, whatever your purpose for travel is, whether it's just to relax, fly and flop, lay down with a book and just forget about everything else, or whether you're going out because you love food. Gastronomy is a big reason for travel. So, we interviewed Richard E. Grant last year around food and what sort of takes him places. So, and then live as well, massive thing for us, because we're a brand who doesn't. I say it sounds a bit strange. We're a brand who doesn't have a thing. We've got the airline have loads of planes and crew and wonderful things, and we're part of that. But they're not us as a holidays brand. And then we've got all of these wonderful hotels who we partner with and we pay for, for the consumers, but we're the people in the middle that bring them together. And we sell feelings, we sell dreams, but they don't manifest as a thing. So when you go to a live event, how can you pull that together? So the key for us was they're just working with a really strong experiential agency, which we work with Acast, to bring our brand to life in a very relevant space at the Happy Place Festival. And we loved it so much we came back again. So we did it again last year.
Did it again last year and might be doing it again this year.
Yeah, I hear. PO's in the inbox.
Daps is absolutely thrilled with that. But actually, no, on that point, because when we're talking about obviously quality over quantity at times, you're then looking at a situation where potentially you're reaching the same people twice, if not 3 times.
Yes.
And we had a conversation earlier on. I'd love for you to touch on this point again as to sort of the power of that and the relevance of that. And you don't necessarily see that as a weakness or a flaw or wastage in any kind. In fact, I think you went as far as to say, if something's worth doing, it's worth doing 3 times or not at all, because how can you possibly properly measure it?
Yes, I agree. Because I said it.
You're a genius, by the way.
I really am. I don't think trends aren't really too much of a thing. Things move all the time. There's always a reason for something not to have a pattern. I like the power of 3. There's something quite comforting in it anyway, but I don't think you can get real learnings unless you've done it multiple times. Like the first time we did it, we've run brand lift studies every year, and our first year of the Omnichannel approach, our favourability, our brand awareness, our consideration all rose. You could sort of sit at the end of year 1 and think, tick, tick, on to the next. But actually, we weren't at 100%. We probably won't ever get to 100%, but there was still headroom in that, so go again. It wasn't broken. There's more to do. Let's push the brand and see what else Happy Place can do for us as a brand and what we can do for them. So we did the brand lift study again, and they moved again. Fabulous, tick, tick. And I can't stop after 2. I don't know if it's me, but I have
it's
to
like
have
a biscuit,
to go.
is it?
I just have to go again. Yeah, exactly. Or a glass of wine, John.
Yeah.
But yeah, I don't feel done with that brand, and I don't think Happy Place isn't done with us, and we're not done with them. So 3rd year it is.
Love that. 3rd year it is. You heard it here first. Excellent.
And there's an interesting point around we were talking before about the evolution of audio into video as well, because the audiences are shifting there. Whilst audio on podcast, we see from the data, there's once discoverability is hard. How do you get them to the content in the first place? But once they're there, they stay. That average is about like 80% is retained audience on audio. With video, particularly around YouTube is a discoverability engine, it is a search engine. So it is driving 75 to 80% new audience into that content because it's delivering it in a totally different way. So you've got this kind of incrementality to audience in these different environments that start to build that scale and start to build that opportunity for you guys in terms of, well, you and everybody else, in terms of how that brand evolves and how the content brand evolves and how the advertisers can attach to that. I think the other thing that's interesting is that then delivers reach on top of true engagement and true relevancy. So the 2 things don't become mutually exclusive. They're actually really intertwined with one another. So I think there's a really important message in terms of how video, audio, live all start to kind of intersect with one another, but also start to deliver a broader reach and broader opportunity. Absolutely.
I mean, a shameless plug for the incremental impact report that is brand new and out in market right now. So if you are interested, give it a quick Google because we cover all of that and more. But on the topic of omnichannel and quality over quantity, etc., a lot of that can be perceived as expensive right? When you're thinking about planning, and this is an argument that you've had till you're blue in the face with regards to Little Dot being this premium YouTube network full of premium YouTube content versus the wider open auction and, you know, sort of the bottom of the barrel stuff with any YouTube in the room. Sorry, but it's one of those things. The open auction could be perceived as a spray and pray mentality. So what's the line to, again, buyers and the line that we go out and talk about all the time in terms of the quality of that content?
YouTube are a bit of a frenemy as far as that's concerned. So we love them because they deliver us revenue, but they also, when it comes to the kind of difference between a general YouTube auction buy and even select, it's generally quite shit. We love them, but it's generally quite shit. We've built this problem. I'm going to get quoted on this for sure.
Yeah, excellent. You're being mic'd up.
We love them. Full stop. The end. The direct buying proposition is kind of much more akin to a broadcast buy or a direct buy for radio or for podcast, where we're aligning brands with the content itself rather than just a reach proposition. So you've got that kind of, you've got targeting, you've got scale, but you also have association between content and brand in the way that you're trying to achieve. So to Gemma's point around BA is, there are these brands, these content owners have built communities and have built audiences that are dedicated to the content and absolutely love it and come back over and over again and trust them as a content creator. This is true of kind of YouTube creators also, but there's kind of, as more traditional talent have moved into a creator space, this has started to build kind of a new environment for brands to kind of directly associate with. So the performance of campaigns running against direct buying versus a YouTube buy, YouTube buy has its place. It's absolutely, if you want a low cost, high volume, reach play, good luck to you, off you go. That's where it plays well. In terms of the performance and the return on investment on a direct buy, it's way higher. It's way better performance. It's a way better product in terms of that kind of visual data and return that's coming back through that. So that kind of, again, to the point around trust and association and brand aligning with content, that's where the opportunity lies.
Yeah, and the authenticity piece is clearly what's moving the needle for brands. And we spoke again earlier a lot about the need for really deep integrated collaboration. And I mean, dare we say, it's lovely when, excuse me, brands such as Acast and the podcast that we represent are able to get direct sort of meets in with you guys as the client. And again, a lot of the time we'll bring the creators in too to make sure that we're having that genuine conversation in order to best inform the brief. How important is that collaboration? How much I know we've got a fair few friends from the industry at different podcast providers that should be championing those conversations and making sure collaboration is at the forefront of any activation, rather than it feeling like square peg, round hole, this is a badging exercise, you've come up with a segment that was already in the show kind of thing, you know what I mean?
Yeah. Bugbear as a client when you get presented something that was clearly had someone else's logo on last week, yeah. Mm-hmm. And you can see straight through it. And if I can see it through it as a client, the consumer's going to see straight through it. So the strength of all of that really does rely in the power of a really, really, really good brief. Write it, read it 3 times, sanity check it with someone else in your team who has no idea what you're doing, and just what did they take? What is their understanding? And always get in front of the media owner, because agencies are great, and they really are. But sometimes you can feel a little bit gatekeeped. So by having that open and honest, and everyone is around the table or on Teams post-COVID, but everyone's just sort of having that chat. And understanding the needs of the client, the needs of the brand, the needs of the campaign. It makes things so much faster to get out the door anyway. But also it's streamlined and your touch points are hit, they're clear, their messages are done. And we've got such a good relationship with Acast. But the creative team, the writing team who are responsible for putting scripts in front of us, there's no amends on them. We've worked with them a couple of years now, but even from early doors, they were pretty much there. But that comes from that open and honest conversation. So, I went off on one then, is that
no,
right?
I enjoyed it. I don't know about you guys. I was getting lost in that a little bit. No, but absolutely, and I agree. And look, from an Acast perspective there, this isn't an easy lift. Thank you. This isn't a case of, just a rinse and repeat situation. We genuinely feel passionately about taking the time to creatively understand the brands that we work with. And yes, a brilliant brief is so important, but it's the follow-up, it's the regular communication, it's working with you collaboratively on those treatments. I've just been given the 5-minute mark, so I'm going to ask you both for a key takeaway, please, and I'll start with you, Wayne.
Apart from my own information, look, I think the thing for me is the Omnichannel provides a real diversity of audience, but it's associated with a brand that has trust in it. And I talk about brand in terms of content brand. The content brand is trusted because they've built community, they've built audience, and that association and alignment that Gemma's talked about in terms of that omnichannel approach, and the live and the audio and the video becomes absolutely essential because you know who you're targeting, who your audience is, and what you're trying to achieve. I think that's, for me, has kind of been really interesting to hear from the brand side, the importance of that, because I've been talking about that the other way for a long time, and actually apparently it's true.
Excellent. We do know what we're talking about. Gemma?
Don't pay any attention to the CPM on the media plan. Because it's not the be-all and end-all.
Let that be the only takeaway. Forget what he said.
Yeah, ignore everything I just said.
It has a role.
Of course.
For the rest of media. And this isn't just on everything. This is like when you're speaking to the subject matter and omnichannel and all of that, it's not just about that sort of that cost that is associated to a CPM on a sponsored read. It's the value of the entire piece. It's what you're getting. You're not, if you want 25 million impressions across something, you might want to look further afield and do other things, but it's understanding your core reason to be there, the value exchange, and it's value over cost on a media plan for me with these things.
Beautiful. I think we're probably going to wrap it up there. Thank you very, very much for joining us. We much appreciate it.
Thank you.
See you soon. Thank you.